Okay. Hello, I'm David Terry with the Schneider Show Mac, OAN edition, and here we have Representative Chase Stevens with us. We're just ask him a couple of questions. So, Mr. Chase Stevens, you're listed as a sponsor on the Heidi Care bill, which will pretty much privatize a lot more of the healthcare and then make it so there is no universal healthcare, but you can pay into a government plan. What are your thoughts on the bill?
Well, first, thank you for having me, Dave. I really appreciate this opportunity for me to talk about my ideals, especially with this D2 Senate race coming up. And, right before this, I had a meeting with Senator Allen, and we were speaking about the bill. And I originally supported it, but it's mainly because I was focused on so many other things. It sounded good. And, something I've campaigned on and always believed is that you should be able, if you earn $52,000 or below, especially if you have a family or you're married, is that you should be able to access private basic healthcare coverage, but you should be able to pay into it. You can't just get it for free. And I saw that from Senator Allen's bill. Now, in my research of it a bit more, I found that there were some issues that I had with it. The first of which being is that if you make below $65,000 a year, you can't access private insurance, or you can't just choose whatever. Well, you can't access what's called the private plan. I take issue with that. I believe that politicians like myself should always be the ones trying to expand your options and opportunity that you can get. So I take issue with that. Also, I believe people who earn 52,000 and below should be the only ones who should be eligible for this kind of coverage, as it should be targeted, and this kind of coverage should only be targeted towards the most suffering among us, the most underprivileged of us, and not the ones of us who can get by with the private option. So while yes, I agree with the basic ideal, I have a few issues with the bill.
Yes. Okay, so you touched on the part. So I guess the main question is, will you be aiding this bill?
I will be proposing some amendments in the House of Representatives. Well, first, I'm trying to discuss with Senator Allen if she can take down the bill, make these changes, and re-propose it. However, if that doesn't happen, I'll be proposing some amendments, and if those amendments fail, I will not be voting in favor.
Okay. Okay. So. Okay, so you're running for Senate District 2. Are you confident that you will win this race?
Well, I was confident I'd win my third congressional district race, and I barely won that. At one point, I thought I was going to lose, so I wouldn't say I'm confident I'm going to win. But I do think that someone who has gained as much experience as myself, someone who's put a very solid and clear policy platform in front of my opponent again, Mr. Bryson Pittman, will be able to win this election using the basic principles of focusing on policy and not insults. As a matter of fact, I'll be debating Mr. Pittman this coming Thursday. And I hope this will be a great exhibition to show the contrast between a small government and efficient policy over big government and non-efficient policy.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chase Stevens, this was a famous line done by Bryson Pittman that you're Mr. Low Tax. How do you respond to that? And this has been something that he's used. How do you respond to that, and how do you defend your policies of fighting for lower tax rates?
It's comical that he uses that as an insult. I take it as a compliment. And I think it's quite shameful that he has to use that as his only insult, that I don't want to cut taxes. When it comes to taxes, I support a 12.5% income tax, flat tax, no matter what you make, with only exceptions if you are married, or depending on how many children you have in the household. Those are the only circumstances. And the reason I support this is because we see, and also if you make below $36,000, you pay nothing in tax, which is actually even better for the lower income people who pay already 10% in taxes. So across the board, this is a complete and utter tax cut. And we see a great amount of benefits from this. And this is something my opponent just fails to recognize, is that we are going to see Across the board, we're going to see around 16% wage growth. We're going to see 13% economic and business growth. We're going to see 5 million net jobs created. And all of these policies are things that my opponent doesn't recognize. And why? Because he doesn't know how the economy works. So what happens is when people have more money, what they do is they invest it. And I'll get to the terrible job killing and economical killing investment tax that the incumbent senator here has put forward and passed. But really what we have is that when people have more money, they invest it. They want to grow that wealth, so they invest it, and it creates jobs, economic growth, raises wages, and all around stimulates the economy. A lot of people call it trickle down. It's called supply side, and it's called economics.
Okay. One more thing. A couple more things. So there's been a movement in MAC by some outsiders and two presidential candidates to invade Liechtenstein. The defense that they give to it is that Liechtenstein is absolute monarchy. They tried to rent out their country for money, so that's obviously raises some issues. How do you feel about a potential invasion of Liechtenstein under Logan Rabe presidency, if he was to win?
Yeah, I am a complete non-interventionist, and I believe as long as Liechtenstein is not attacking us, threatening us, or causing us trouble, then we should leave them alone. I wouldn't intervene if neighbors wanted to get involved, but I do not believe that the United States of America should be involved in something like that. Because we should have learned our lesson in Vietnam. We didn't. Then we should have learned our lesson in the Middle East wars, especially in the invasion of Iraq, but we didn't. So I think now it's about time that people like presidential candidate Logan Rabe realize that we can't just keep invading. All right, we need to worry about Americans first.
Okay, and last but wait, I had a good question, and I forgot it. Would you consider yourself a member of the Tea Party movement?
I would absolutely consider myself part of the Tea Party movement. You know, this government keeps taxing higher and higher and creates more and more regulations, and it's not helping us. That's why we're in a recession. You know, a lot of people like to blame conservative politics and not enough government spending. Well, who do you think's been in charge the past, however long? It's because of these. You got these people, these far left politicians that keep adding more and more spending, higher and higher taxes, more and more regulations, and it's gotten us into a recession. However, it appears that the people on the left want to keep trying their failed policy. People like my opponent think that his kind of politics will get us out of the recession, while it's those exact kind of politics that got us involved in the recession. You know, we had a little argument today over the jobs guarantee program. You know, I myself used to support that. However, I found out that, what's a better way to create jobs and economic growth? Is that you just cut taxes for people that can provide them, people across the board. And what that does is it allows people to provide more jobs. And it also comes with economic growth. With a federal jobs guarantee program, they would compete with private sector jobs, and that's how we see an even further decline of the economy. So I would completely agree, and I'm pretty sure most Tea Partiers out there would agree that I am probably the head of the Tea Party movement right now in the United States government.
Okay, we're gonna have two more questions. So, actually, I forgot the question, so we're just gonna go to the last question. Well, it's a two-question thing. So, one question: who is your favorite Black conservative politician?
I'd have to say that I think Ben Carson's a really smart guy. I think he's really good. Been a great housing and urban development secretary. Done a lot for people of low income status and people all across the country. So I think he's been pretty good. Okay.
And last but certainly not least, if Ben Carson was to give you an inward pass, would you use it?
You know what? I'm going to have to say no comment on that.
Okay. Well, Representative Chase Stevens, it was nice having you on. Anytime you want to come on, you are welcome to have you. We're going to wrap up this interview, but thanks for coming on.
All right. Thank you very much.